When I first saw the title The Opposition, I assumed it would be a political movie, the kind you'd expect to see in theaters, the opposition party that opposes the ruling party in parliament. But the opposition in the movie was a different, unfamiliar, and darker world. In the world of drug-related crimes, it refers to the so-called mules, the insider informants, who walk a tightrope by providing information to the police and prosecutors. It's a word that's used to describe the bat-like beings who live on the fringes of both sides of the political spectrum, slyly leaking information and taking advantage of both sides. The movie centers around the story of a man who becomes this dangerous opposition. Interestingly enough, after watching the movie, I realized that my initial assumptions weren't entirely wrong. After reading a few drug-related books recently, I realized that in the real world, this opposition figure plays a very important role in the investigation process. Sometimes they provide crucial information that leads to the arrest of a big-time drug lord. However, rather than being a dramatic figure like Lee Kang-soo in the movie Opposition, the real-life opposition is often just an informant who is deeply addicted to drugs. The movie tends to focus on more dramatic settings and character relationships rather than that aspect of reality. The movie follows the story of Lee Kang-soo Kang-ha-neul, an ordinary chauffeur, and how he unknowingly transforms into the opposition. He's a man who's been living a hard-working life, staying away from drugs until one day he gets caught up in an unfortunate and deliberately designed operation that quickly leads to him being framed as a drug dealer. In his desperate situation, it's ambitious prosecutor Koo Kwan-hee Yoo-hai-jin who reaches out to him. Koo Kwan-hee, who has bounced around the local prosecutor's office and is eager to take center stage, sees Lee Kang-soo's intelligence and desperation and decides to take advantage of him. With Lee Kang-soo as her useful hand, Koo has ambitions to build her own track record and climb the ranks of the prison's drug cartel by uncovering information deep inside the prison. The sweet carrots that Koo Kwan-hee surreptitiously dangles in front of him, plea deals and favors, are hard for Lee to resist, and the two enter into a symbiotic relationship where each gives and gets what the other needs. On the surface, it may seem like a win-win situation. Indeed, it's clear that Koo Kwan-hee benefits immensely from the advanced information that Lee Kang-soo provides, as he rises through the ranks and seems to be walking on eggshells, eventually landing his dream job at the Central District Prosecutor's Office. But throughout the film, the audience is left to question what Lee Kang-soo is really gaining from this risky deal, and whether his gains are too minimal compared to the risks he's taking. His benefits are nothing more than a slightly nicer car to drive around in, and it's hard to see how his life has actually improved. Koo's ambition isn't satisfied with joining the Central District Prosecutor's Office. He's after a bigger case, the chance of a lifetime to catch a big shot, the head of the country's largest drug organization. Coincidentally, another veteran investigator, Oh Sang-jae Park Hae-jun, has been tracking the organization for years with the same goal. Through another informant named Soo-jin Chai Won-bin, Oh Sang-jae captures the crucial moment when he's about to make a breakthrough. But Koo Kwan-hee, using her intelligence and power, is one step ahead of him and intercepts the ball. This is where an unexpected twist comes in that completely changes the course of the movie. Jo-hoon Ryu Kyung-soo, the son of a leading presidential candidate, happens to be arrested alongside Koo Kwan-hee at the scene of the drug inhalation. The case has the potential to turn into a political scandal, and Koo Kwan-hee, who will do anything to advance his career, seizes this golden opportunity. He cleverly twists and manipulates the nature of the case to use it as a springboard to realize his political ambitions. From this point on, the film sheds its veneer as a drug crime investigation drama and becomes more of a political thriller or a crime drama, depicting the dangerous runaway of a power-hungry prosecutor and the underhandedness of those surrounding him. To be honest, the overall plot and development of the movie doesn't stray too far from what fans of genre films will recognize as somewhat predictable. Familiar settings and cliches are repeated over and over again, and even the gadgets used to solve the case don't deviate too much from the, "Oh, I see that coming." There are definitely aspects of the story that are a bit predictable. However, what matters is how interestingly and tastefully the cliched notion of "there's nothing new under the sun" is packaged and presented to the audience. In this light, it's interesting to note that the film's director, Hwang Byung-gook, has a history of directing, having directed films like My Marriage Expedition in the past. He was more active as an actor for a while before returning to the director's chair to bring us 2023, The intertwined web of betrayal and intrigue between prosecutors, police, and criminals is a long-standing staple of the crime thriller genre, especially in Korean cinema, where the prosecutor as a profession is often portrayed as an absolute figure, wielding immense power at the pinnacle of the story, and the villainous prosecutors in these films often end up getting their comeuppance and downfall when all of their secret misdeeds and corruption are exposed. However, if we take a sobering look at the real world, it's hard to imagine a prosecutor getting the same kind of punishment for their misdeeds or misconduct in the news as they do in the movies. And I wonder if many audiences find vicarious satisfaction in the catharsis of a prosecutor's downfall through the medium of movies. One of the movie's greatest virtues is undoubtedly the acting. Yoo Hae-jin's performance as a chilling and vicious villain, his first on-screen role in a long time, is a reminder of his wide acting range, and the appearance of Chai Won-bin, who has been garnering attention as a rising star with several recent films, is both refreshing and welcome. Kang Ha-neul, one of Chung Moro's busiest actors, delivers a steady performance that anchors the center of the film, while Park Hae-jun's commanding presence, which seems to be back in full force after his recent performance in Fox Fooled, also helps to heighten the tension in the film. In conclusion, The Opposition may not be a movie that says anything new or deep. However, for audiences looking for a lighthearted killer movie, it's certainly an enjoyable option. Of course, there are definitely points where the second half of the movie feels a little rushed or lacking in development. It feels like all of the conflicts are wrapped up with a somewhat realistic limit, rather than being resolved in a straightforward manner, and perhaps the structure of the story didn't lend itself to a more dramatic happy ending or catastrophe. Nevertheless, I'd still say that the ensemble performances from an engaging cast and the basic enjoyment of the genre film are more than enough to make this a worthwhile watch. And if you're looking for a crime thriller to kick back and enjoy on a weekend evening without too many expectations, it's definitely worth a look.